Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. M.P. Stija, retired professor from the Department of Library and Information Science, Guru Nanak Dev Universities. Today, we are going to discuss the special features of library classifications as distinguished from knowledge classification. These are standard subdivisions, common isolates, special isolates, and so on. Simply speaking, from librarian's viewpoint, there are two types of classifications, namely library classification and knowledge classification. Knowledge classification is the work of philosophers, scientists, and educationists. It is abstract study. Library classification, as applied by librarians, is of course predominantly based on knowledge classification, but it is not a copy of it. In libraries, we deal with the knowledge as recorded in books and other documents and media. Therefore, in libraries, we classify not knowledge per se, but knowledge as recorded in any media. A document is a physical entity with some additional features apart from knowledge contents. In library classification, we have to make provisions for these additional features for complete and effective classification. These features are both internal and external, and some more bibliographical features or common auxiliaries as they call in UDC. Knowledge is a predominant basis of library classification. A document which is a source of knowledge has always some physical form and some subtle form created by the author. According to S. R. Ranganasan, a document comprises of gross body, subtle body, and soul. Library classification deals with documents. It, in effect, deals with information as recorded in documents. It may be described by the following equation. Library classification is equal to knowledge classification plus viewpoint of the presentation of the text plus physical attributes of the document equal to subject plus internal form plus external form. We can say documentary forms. Documentary forms are both internal and external, that is, inner format and the media. For example, it may be expedient in a library to separate a macrofilm or a CD-ROM from a book, though the specific subject of these three may precisely be the same. It is equally expedient to distinguish between a dictionary and a periodical of a subject, as well as the philosophical viewpoint from the historical one of the same subject. Form is a secondary feature. That's why in the UDC, these are included in the auxiliary tables. Outer form is the term which denotes dictionaries, essays, serials. It is a physical form or a mode of presentation that we can immediately recognize. Documentary forms. Inner form, on the other hand, is a term used to denote forms such as philosophy, history, and theory. Here the form being closely interwoven with the subject of the book. It is difficult to separate from it. Outer form may thus be regarded as a literary shape in which a volume is presented. Inner form is subjective. The methods by which the subject is presented or the viewpoint from which an author regards a subject in his text. Inner form restricts or helps to define subject content, but outer form does not, writes Maltway. To account for such physical and intangible attributes of the documents, Manuel Dewey, in the second edition of Dewey Decimal Classification, separated such non-subject forms of documents and listed them in the beginning of each division to be added to the desired class number. These tables could be added to any class number and always remained the same in name and notation. These were termed as form divisions, as those mostly stood for the form of the documents, for example, bibliography, dictionaries, serials, and so on. In the second edition, they were listed at the beginning of each of the 100 divisions. In the succeeding editions of the Dewey Decimal Classification, form divisions were expanded and given once for all in the table at the beginning of the schedules, that is in one table only. In the 17th edition, 1965, these farm divisions were renamed as standard subdivisions, as the recurring non-subject divisions listed there had obviously outgrown the farm divisions. So then there are many more concepts from the viewpoint of the subjects or other recurring non-subject document aspects of the document. Now these include some recurring viewpoints and even facets indicators as they stand now. The standard subdivisions as they stand today in the 23rd edition of the DDC given in volume 1 on pages 179 to 209 may broadly be categorized as unders. Uh, Viewpoints such as philosophy, history, research. Uh, Physical aspects, bibliographic form of the documents such as serials, pictures, map. Facet indicators such as 04, 08, and 09 to introduce a new facet. And the scope of the standard subdivisions has been widened so much so that it is advisable to go through table 1. Otherwise, it is not easy to define in one word. Rules for adding standard subdivisions to a class number have been provided in the introduction to the DDC in volume 1, and the rules are quite clear and comprehensive. Many instructions regarding standard subdivisions are found in the manual uh, included in the introduction, that is manual on the use of the DDC. Here is the outline of the standard subdivisions in table 1 of the DDC, which represents the form, inner and outer form of a subject. 01 Theory and Philosophy, 02 Miscellany, 03 Dictionaries Encyclopedia, that is reference books, 04 is the indicator, 05 serial publications, journals, 06 institutions, associations, 07 study, teaching and research of the subject, 08 collections or anthologies, and 09 historical and geographical treatment of the subject. Rules for adding a standard subdivision in a subject. The standard subdivisions usually represent recurring non-primary aspects of the subject and the document. A standard subdivision by itself has no meaning. It gets meaning when attached to the class number. A standard subdivision is added to the ultimate schedule number of the document in question. A standard subdivision is applicable to any class number, howsoever broad or minute, unless they are disallowed. Having reached the most specific class number, we do not necessarily need any notation to add a standard subdivision from the table. Rules for adding a standard subdivision. In the DDC, the standard subdivisions are not applied mostly in two cases, namely when the subject has no unique place of its own but has been placed with some other subject as a guest. The other reason for not applying it is its redundancy. For example, Dictionary of English Language doesn't require the standard subdivision 03, and History of India 954 will not require the standard subdivision 09 for obvious reasons. They start with 0, which acts as a facet indicator. In some cases, on instructions, a standard subdivision may require more than one 0 for adding to a class number. These may be further extended by any number from the schedules or from the tables. At present, there are 5 more other auxiliary tables in the Dewey Decimal classification. These mostly pertain to subject recurring aspects. These are T2 geographical areas or space subdivisions, T3 subdivisions applicable mostly to literature, T4 subdivisions applicable to linguistics, T5 national and ethnic groups of people, T6 languages of the world. The table 2 and table 5 are applicable throughout the schedules, either on invitation or added with a facet indicator by the classifier if needed. Table 6 is strictly applicable on instructions. These tables have increased the synthetic power of the DDC and has made it more faceted. One isolates in the colon classification. An isolate in the colon classification is a fundamental and ultimate unit of knowledge. By itself, it cannot stand. So alone it cannot make a subject, nor it can be divided further. Isolates enumerated specially and exclusively for a particular main class are termed as special isolates. In contrast to these, isolates enumerated once for all and which remain the same for every main class are veritably termed as common isolates. Common isolates represent mere auxiliaries and are not part of the subject proper. They are part of the document's features. They are recurring concepts and mostly pertain to the form of presentation or the extra textual aspects of a document. Since they are listed once for all, their names and notation remains the same. That's why they are known as standard. They stand for divisions such as encyclopedia, dictionary, periodical, bibliography, biography, statistics, or forms of presentation such as history, commission report, and conference proceedings. Institutions, centers, research, and criticism are also common isolates. To arrange the subjects in the real Apupa pattern, much depends upon these common isolates. Invention of Apupa pattern is simply of Ranganathan. These common isolates denotes shades of subjects intensity of the core of the document. Without common isolates, there cannot be any Apupa pattern. Uh, Ranganathan divided the common isolates into two categories and further subcategories, which may be best represented by the following two uh, broader, broader divisions. One is enterizing common isolates known as ACI, and these are isolates which are for approach to the documents. Second is posterizing common isolates which uh, arrange the subjects at the posterior position, and such documents are meant for advanced studies. Kinds of isolates in the colon classification. Isolates or common subdivisions in the CC are divided into two parts. Special isolates, which are subject divisions that we have already under different main classes. These are subject divisions and form part of personality, matter, and energy. Common isolates, for the first time, have been divided into two categories: enterizing common isolates, which form approach documents, and posterizing common isolates, which form advanced documents. Their further subdivisions of the enterizing common isolates are applicable before space, applicable after space, and applicable after time. In the sixth edition, posterizing common isolates are again of two types: personality PCI and energy PCI. Though in the seventh edition, they have also many more kind of posterizing common isolates. In the CC, enterizing common isolates, when these are attached to a subject, they give it an anterior or front position over other subjects of the same class. Their another feature is that they do not require any connecting symbol in the sixth edition of the colon classification. Some of the common isolates in this edition are A. Bibliography, K. Encyclopedia, M. Periodical, P. Conference reports, B. History of the subject, R. Report, S. Statistics, and W. Biography. Some examples of energy PCIs are B2 designing, F research or investigation, and G critical studies. And of course, these are always added with the connecting symbol colon. Then personality PCIs are more important. Some of the examples are D institutions or centers, E educational institutions, G associations or other professional bodies. And these personality PCIs are always added with a comma as required for a personality. It may be noted that in addition to the so-called common isolates, there are common schedules of space and time categories in the colon classification. In addition, there is a separate comprehensive schedule of languages of the world in chapter 5 of the CC 6th edition. It can also be used at various places, denoting physical media in the CC. Form of the document is also a facet in the long facet formula for book numbers. Some forms of document going with the base number in the book number are as follow in the 6th edition, chapter 2. Here is the formula: B is index, D data book, F picture book, G parody, P1 lecture, Q code, W1 verse or poetic form, X quotations, and X4 press cutting or press clipping. These are formats of the document and these are part of book numbers. Criticism. Though Ranganathan gets all the credit for dividing common oscillates into enterizing and posterizing common oscillates, which ultimately result in a pupa pattern of documents on the shelves, which is a great achievement of the colon classification. At the same time, there is some criticism of common oscillate devised by Ranganathan, which help to specify every document. But Ranganathan is a bit presumptuous to think that all the ACIs form approach documents to the core subjects. For example, nobody reads periodicals or conference reports before he or she has a sufficient basic knowledge of the subject. It means periodicals and conferences are meant for advanced students, not for the beginners. Therefore, these should have been placed in a posterior position instead of an anterior position. UDC common auxiliary tables. In the universal decimal classification, we call them common auxiliaries. In the early days, it is the auxiliaries which set apart the UDC from its mother, the UDC even from other subjects, which made it almost look like a facial classification. It is the auxiliaries more than the wealth of details that made the UDC the first truly bibliographic classification to be used for arranging entries in a bibliography. Any number from the main tables, that is the whole table 0 to 9, can be extended by notation from auxiliary tables, which are again of two types: common auxiliaries, which are universally applicable to all the classes, and special auxiliaries applicable restrictively or locally to a given class. Common auxiliaries have been given in tables 1A to 1K in the UDC. More than 10,000 common auxiliaries are given in this table. Table 1A and 1B have symbols for addition, coordination, and relations. That is plus, slash, bracket, and double colon. Table 1C is languages with the symbol equal to 0/9. Table 1D is form starting with 0 in parentheses. Table 1 is places or geographical isolates denoted from 1 to 9 given in parentheses. Table 1F, race, ethnic and nationality, is a combination of languages and place, and so is the symbol within parentheses equal to then some place number. Table 1G is for time or chronological auxiliary, and table 1H is non-UDC numbers, either A to Z or some numerical as a part of the subject proper. And latest additions are table 1K, general characteristics, they start with -0. Properties 02 materials, 03 relations, and process 04 operations, etc. Personals are 05 and their characteristics. These auxiliaries can be added to a number of any specificity without any specific instruction. Common auxiliaries are to be added first in specific to general order. A mechanical formula for the citation order is that the auxiliary tables should be added in the reverse order 1K to 1C. Here are given some examples before you of the use of common auxiliaries. You see before you 3 plus 5 is a symbol for addition, means social sciences and natural sciences put together. Slash is a continuation addition sign, means there is a continuity 5 to 6 science and technology. To give you another example of a non-UDC auxiliary added with a asterisk 523.6 asterisk 81P, that is Hollis comet number 81P. 81P is the scientific number given to a comet, and so on. Special auxiliaries, in contrast to common auxiliaries, which are given once for all, special auxiliaries are given under the class to which they belong, means they are special to a given subject or class. The following three auxiliaries are applied in a restricted but clearly specified range of numbers as instructed in the schedule from place to place. Their functions also overlap. These are recognized by sidelining the numbers in the schedules in the latest editions. These are denoted by 00, point not, apostrophe, and hyphen. Zero auxiliaries, hyphen auxiliaries, and apostrophe auxiliaries. However, no formulated order has been prescribed for the special auxiliaries. The UDC being a flexible classification, the order can be locally changed, but of course, we have to apply them in the order of what we can say wall picture principle, or in the order of their dependency, or from specific to general. Library of Congress classification. Treatment of these common isolates or common auxiliaries is different in the Library of Congress. That it is the best example of an enumerative general classification scheme. There is no synthesis of numbers even through the use of common form, geographical and other common subdivisions. All are enumerated and embedded in the number. Library of Congress provides to each country and subject its own list of geographical and form divisions. Therefore, instead of a common table, we have many lists of such divisions. A list of common subdivisions is provided every time one is needed. This provision of separate sets of form divisions and general geographical tables which are peculiar to the needs of a particular class has made the scheme too bulky. That runs to about 11,000 pages. Its bulk is due to the tendency to enumerate a special set of subdivisions for forms and countries each time wherever it is deemed required. It doesn't provide a single common table once for all that could be used to synthesize any class number. This repetition of languages, countries, and recurring forms of presentation results in bulky schedules. On the other hand, it saves classifiers time, of course. Take, for example, the enumerated form and geographical divisions or common isolates under two classes of H economics, where H is statistics, HB is economic theory. Under H is statistics, periodicals get the number 1, or periodical is HA1, but under economic theory HB, the periodicals are given 9 places 1 to 9. Under HA statistics, conferences and congresses get the number 9 to 11, but on the other hand, under HB economic theory, these are given the number 21 to 29. Then collections of anthologies are 13 to 15 under HA statistics, but under HB statistics, these are numbers spread from 31 to 35, and so on. Bibliographic classification, second edition. It started publishing in the year 1977, and it is one of the most advanced and scientific classification. And accordingly, this is one of the most modern journal classification which has fully developed common auxiliary schedules in the first volume entitled Introduction. These cover a number of different common facets. The total of 6 common schedules are as follows. Schedule 1 is for form of presentation, etc. For example, 3U case study. Schedule 1A is for persons and subject. For example, 4XD, helpers, assistants, and so on. Schedule 2 is for places, geographical area. Here, example is A3, Great Britain. The Schedule 3 is for languages, and there F is for French. Schedule 3A is for ethnic groups. For example, K stands for American Indians. Schedule 4 is for periods of time, chronological table. Here, 7QS is 1900 to 1970. All these auxiliaries may be used to qualify any class if necessary. Schedules 3A and 3A are added on explicit or direct instructions. The others are available at the discretion of the classifier without particular instruction. These begin with a number and may be added directly to any BC class numbers unless otherwise instructed. For example, 1AK 6C, research and experiment in psychoanalysis, in which 6C is taken from Schedule 1. Adding common subject subdivision in BC2. Person auxiliaries table is 1A. This allows qualification of persons. They can be added directly to any class number using the numeral 4, which is a sort of indicator digits. Auxiliary schedules reduce the need for enumeration of these concepts wherever they appear or are most likely to appear. Places are in auxiliary schedule 2. Unless otherwise instructed, These divisions are normally synthesized with the main classes using the numeral 8 in the same manner as the other auxiliary schedules. Schedule 3 and 3A languages and ethnic groups may be specified using auxiliary schedules 3A and 3A respectively and are only added on explicit instructions. Periods given in auxiliary table 4. These are introduced by the numeral 7 as the indicator digit as well as being used directly wherever specifically instructed. In summary, we have to remember that common oscillates or standard subdivisions or common auxiliaries as they are called are only requirement in library classification. They are not required in knowledge classification. In library classification, apart from the subject content, we have to take into account some physical features of the document or the way the subject has been formulated or represented therein. These documentary features are internal forms and format of the content and external and physical media of the document. These are recurring features of all documents and most of the subjects. In all library classification systems except in the Library of Congress classification, these varied features are identified and listed once for all in the beginning of main classes, and these can be added to the numbers in the schedules to make complete class numbers. These common subdivisions are named differently in different classification systems. Now in the DTC, there are 6 such tables, and the first table, which is more important, contains common auxiliaries. It is known as standard subdivisions. The Universal Decimal Classification, in its very first edition, published in 1905, with its fully developed list of common and special auxiliaries, made a revolutionary development. Any class number for the main class 0 to 9 could be specified by any of the so many auxiliary tables. S.R. Ranganathan, in his colon classification, ingeniously divided common oscillates into two kinds, ACIs and PCIs, to create a pupa pattern of documents on the shelves or entries in a classified catalog. A pupa pattern is mostly useful for arrangement of documents in a pedagogical way. The Library of Congress, according to its strict enumerative policy, lists time and form and geographical divisions under various classes, and their notation differ from class to class. These list of common subdivisions have and again has been made these schedules quite bulky. They are not enumerated once for all. They are always given for ready-made numbers. The most modern formulation and addition of such divisions can be found in the 6 common schedules of bibliographic second edition, which started publishing in 77, revised by Jack Mills and his team. These common oscillates also help to create different sections in the library for better arrangement of stacking and display of documents in the libraries.